Welcome, everybody, to the Hounds podcast. This is your host, James Hudson. Actually, on this episode, we will be kicking it off with the Houndsmen for Christ with Jackson Williams. Just wanted to do a little quick touch and I'm screwed all that up. Welcome, everybody, to the Hounds podcast. In this episode, we'll be kicking back to the Houndsmen for Christ with Jackson Williams. I just wanted to kind of get on here for a quick second. I do apologize again for missing last week. I know that kind of threw little things off, but we're going to do a doubleheader. We're going to split this episode into two episodes. It was a good long, about an hour and a half recording that Jackson and his guests did. So we're going to split this up and do two recordings. We're going to do one on our normal date, and then we'll probably just do the next one the following day. That way y'all get both of them back to back. So I do apologize for missing last week. Man, we were getting ready for the Masters, and I was going to go downstairs the night before and get this thing edited and ready for y'all, and my my AC compressor went out at the house. So I kind of got steamrolled with that. Had to get the wife and the kids set up somewhere before we took off to the Masters. Got my butt kicked down there for the whole weekend. My kennel partner MJ, his dog had one sitting sixth after I think sixth or seventh after the first day, and he gradually faded just outside the top 20. But rest of my dogs sucked badly. Got my tail waxed this weekend. Had to lick the wounds on that one and come back home. But no, I enjoyed it. Got to meet some new faces, meet some people. Mr. Brad Richardson and Joey Fowler. Finally got to put a face to names with some of these guys. Got to see some good friends. And then congrats again to Mr. John Molnar for going down there and spanking us all. Good, strong dogs, brother. Enjoyed kenneling right beside you. And appreciate all the help this weekend. Me and him kenneled together and hung out all weekend at the pen. We had separate campers, but enjoyed ourselves and had a good time. Cooked a bunch of food, and man, we really enjoyed it. So definitely appreciate you, brother, and congrats again. And then, of course, come on back home and get ready for the next one, I reckon. But if you're watching on the video, I want to show this off too. Got some new Hounds Tales podcast swag. Got me a nice collared shirt I'll be taking for the bench shows. If you've been seeing me at a bench show, you know I try to get changed and get halfway decent looking for a bench show. It's just something, I don't know. People call me crazy. I know they look at me funny when I walk in, but I like seeing the old pictures of the guys in the suits and ties and nice, button-ups and all that stuff from back in the day, and you just don't see it no more. And I don't know, I just feel like it's a respect thing towards the bench show, and I want to keep. I'm just going to keep pushing that as long as I can until I get laughed off the stage. But now I got this. The other day, and very excited. Got it from my friends over at Low 10 Outfitters. We still do have Hounds Tales podcast available on there. Please go and get you some. Go on low10outfitters.com and get you a pair. But, all right, enough of me rambling, y'all. I'm not going to hold y'all up anymore. Let's get to this episode. I'm excited to bring this to you, and we'll have part 2 ready for y'all next week. And thank y'all for y'all's patience and understanding. All right, guys, drop the gate. Let's get to it. Welcome, everybody, to the Hounds Tales podcast. This is your home for field trialing and deer dog hunting. It'll be stories and discussions on the world of dog hunting. So let's drop the gate, cast your hounds, and get ready for another episode of the Hounds Tales podcast. The Hounds Tales podcast is proud to partner with Outdoor Dog Supply yet again for the 2026 year. Outdoor Dog Supply is the leader in online garment sales with their world-class trade-in programs. These guys are not just a business, they are houndsmen and women too. They test their products out there in the field and put them to the test every day during hunting season and field trial season, guys. Get the latest in garment equipment, stay locked and ready with field trial equipment, collars, leashes, and so much more. Visit their website today at outdoordogsupply.com, and we want to thank Outdoor Dog Supply again for their support, not only for the podcast, but for field trials across the country, our help in fighting to keep our rights as houndsmen and women across the states. And when you're looking for your next purchase and equipment, keep Outdoor Dog Supply in mind. Now, let's get this episode going, guys.
Hey, y'all, this is Jackson with the Houndsmen for Christ, co-host of the Hounds Tales podcast. Tonight, we are going to do things a little differently than I did last time. I got a very exciting friend of mine to talk to, more little depth into dogs, but a couple things I want to go over first, kind of as a recap of the week. If any of you have seen my Facebook, I have got a dog box built from Kevin Craig. If you are wanting to get a dog box built, I highly recommend using him. He will do whatever you want, however you want it. If you want an elephant on top of it, he'll give it to you. Very good to work with. Gave me everything I asked for, and does a very fine job. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him. And 3-day hunt in December. As of right now, the book is open to where you can get more than 5 numbers. I think I've given out around 160 or so numbers. So definitely got more room for some more numbers. I know it's still early, but trying to get everything planned out ahead of time. If there's any questions you got about, I know a couple things that has changed, like the payment for, not till September. I don't need the numbers paid until September, and I think that was the only changes. Yeah, that should have been the only changes. But to jump into it, so tonight I got a good friend of mine, Jesse Baxley. He's from down the road. We've hunted a good bit together. He's got broke dogs too, and I'm really excited to jump into this. So, Jesse, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I was on Facebook today, and I was asking a couple questions. Each one I do, I wanted to kind of get a little bit from the audience, and we'll pick 3 questions from it and go from there. But to kind of start it out, just tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and how you kind of got into the dogs.
Oh, man. Short story or long story?
Either one. So we can go down a little bit of a rabbit hole.
For sure. Jesse Baxley. I'm from Georgetown, South Carolina. The low country South Carolina down here, and I hunt broke dogs, fox, cat, coyote. That's a little different than a lot of fellas just hunt fox, cat, or just coyote, one or the other. But I work a lot, so I don't get to travel a lot, so I hunt whatever's here, anything but a whitetail. But anyway, getting started in hounds. I got started in hounds when I was a small kid. My dad coon hunted for a long time, my whole young part of my life, and I remember loving to go do that when I was little. But when I was probably, 8 or 10, my uncle, Gary Owens, he had deer dogs, running dogs, and it didn't take but a trip or two there, and it was all over for life for me. Something different about a running hound. I don't know what it's always been. But I worked in the summers and begged my dad for several years. He had stopped coon hunting there for a while, and talked him into getting me some foxhounds, deer dogs, So he started flipping through Chase magazine, and he ordered me a pup straight out of Pinedale Clown B. Mind you, I wasn't about 10, 11 years old now. Some from David Helms, a couple white cap pups, Jimmy Ziploc B pups. Landed me a few out of Clyburn's Rock from right around the neighborhood. So you run the mill like best hounds at a time.
Right.
He got me started and ruined me for life is what he
did. in the cream of the crop days is what they call it.
Yeah, man, those are some good times we're running now, that's for sure.
Well, go ahead and dive into kind of one of these questions before we get to going with the broke dogs there. One of them was John Turner. He said, "What does your relationship with Christ mean to you, and does field trialing take away from church time?" Well,
Well, I don't really.
go. I'll let you answer that one.
I don't really field trial too much anymore. Puppy hunt a little bit. You probably got a little more to say about field trial and the church thing, but I try to make it to church anytime I can. But the only thing stops us from going to church these days and doing a lot better. Now that I got a little girl, a child will change your life. I've heard somebody say that it don't mean nothing if you don't teach your children about Jesus. And I kind of took that to heart. And she's almost 2 now, so we try to go as much as we can. And I will go hunting on Sunday morning a little bit, but I'll make sure I'm back in time to get dressed, get ready to go to church if I can help it.
Absolutely. And I'll kind of add into the Sunday thing. Man, I'm a firm believer. If you wait till Sunday to get Jesus, I don't really think you're probably doing it. I'm not going to say the right way, because I definitely don't go about it the right way all the time. But I think the Sunday thing's more of a. You definitely need to be there on Sundays, but I don't think it's the end of the world, man, if you're not there. And when I say that, if you've got something going on and the Lord is the center of your life, and whatever you might be doing on Sunday, if He is number one in it, I think it's okay to skip some Sundays and for example, like there'll be some field trials that I go to. That is on Sunday mornings, and I kind of look at it as an opportunity. I try to be mindful of what I wear or how I portray myself, and I'm not always good at it, but anything I can wear, like I got a hat, it says "Make Heaven Crowded." Anything to kind of spark a conversation or kind of talk to people about it. It's not really a justification for not being in church, but if I'm not going to be in church, I at least try to do a little extra to bring that up in conversation at some point today. But the only reason I'm gonna miss church is either for work or we'll be hunting. But that's a rare case, and I don't think it's the end of the world by no means. But as far as what my relationship with Christ means to me, it is everything. As I talked on the last one about a year ago, my life completely changed and turned around, and there was actually a verse that I kind of wanted to share before we move on, and it's in Revel. I posted it on Facebook and kind of got some interaction from it, and if possible, if this piques your interest, I kind of want you to study this verse a little bit and get with me personally and kind of tell me what you think it means in depth as we talk about it. And it's Revelations 3:16. It says, "So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth." So I'll kind of leave it at that for now. I've definitely got my opinions on it, but me and Hunter were talking last time about good old boys. There is a lot of good old boys that is lukewarm, in my opinion. But if you do got time and you kind of that piques your interest, if you don't mind, man, just study on it a little bit and get with me individually. Everybody that's listening, call me, text me, anything, just to kind of get a conversation going.
All right, guys, we're going to interrupt the episode again real quick. The Hounds Tales podcast would like to take a second and talk about our friends over at Cajun Lights. Whether you're pleasure running at night or judging nighttime field trials, put your trust in Cajun Lights, guys. With the economical Cajun Bayou for the every now and then light user, the Cajun Micro for your nighttime feeds, and trust me, that sucker comes in handy. And to the top level Cajun blinder for the hardcore crossing getters. The Cajun Lights are headlights style lamps that free up your hands for voice recorders and your GPS. They offer flood style lights in red, amber, and a white walking light. Then the top of the line 4-level main beam light. If you're having a hard time catching crossings at night, Give the Cajun Light a try. With the red and amber setting to catch the game with an easy flick of a switch, go right back to your main beam light guys and see your hounds in action. Visit their store today at CajunLights.com or check out. Make sure that you fill out the survey and select Hounds Tales Podcast to receive 5% off your next purchase from Cajun Lights. Guys, trust me, tough lights. Cannot say enough good about these guys, and made in America products. Be sure to check them out. CajunLights.com. All right, I won't hold y'all up no more. Let's get back to the episode, guys. Here we go.
So, but to move on to the next question, I think it was Kelton. He said, "Are today's hounds better than they were 20 years ago?" That's a tough one.
That's a loaded question, man, because I like in my early 20s, late teen years, I was field trialing in that area, and that was, 15 years ago or so. I had the height of Pamplico, man. The Masters was at Pamplico, and I don't say they were better. They were better in some regards. Man, that's a hard question.
I think it's like comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, kinda, yeah. And like even your 3 days, man. Your 3 days, there were no 250 acre pen 3 days. It's Pamplico or bust, 1,000 acres, and the dog got spread out, and he had to be a dog. And I've watched some great ones run, man. I watched Slinger at Pamplico at the Masters drag, and a lot of people listening will probably remember this dog, Southeast Maverick. He's in a good bit of pedigrees today, but he was out of Stigger and probably one of the faster dogs of that time, that era. And I watched Slinger drag him cross open cut down by 150, and Maverick dragging 40 more head behind him by 150. Getting a chance to see those dogs like that run, man. I watched Donald's Frog run a little bit in his prime. That list, that bracket James has, man. Mighty Man, I was around there when Mighty Man was running. I bred the Drum, which Bethlehem, Lofton's Bethlehem. A lot of people call him Drum. Hollywood. I had some pups off White Cat, East Coast Dillon. I did say they're better. I don't know. I mean, these dogs here are a little more athletically gifted now, I think, in these coyote pens, these smaller coyote pens. They can really pick them up and put them down. But as far as being able to drop him anywhere and he put pressure on a piece of game, maybe a little different story.
So here's my question to that. Is it necessarily that the dogs were better or worse, or is it the situation that we put them in now that are different? Because if you really think about it, the dogs that we're running now basically come. If you look at that bracket, that's basically what we're running are those dogs. Just down generations of it. Is it us breeding as people that's gotten worse, or is it the situation that we put them in? I know I've mentioned it before. I'm no fan of these smaller pens, but it is good for the sport. Yeah. It is not necessarily good for the hound, but it's kind of those you got to give a little bit to get a little bit, situations, man. You go to a field trial today, there's youngins running around, there's women there of every race you could think of. I think it's kind of unified people, not almost just made it easier, and I hate to say easier, but basically that's what it is, and it's just made it to where it's a lot bigger sport now than what it is, and that's another rabbit hole you can go down. There's, and I don't know back then, you could be able to answer, more. There was, you go to a hunt then, there was 5 or 6 guys there that were really, dominant, and now, man, you go to one of these bigger hunts, and there's 50 dogs there that's capable of winning. And when I say these bigger hunts, I mean these really prestige hunts. I'm not talking about the backyard benefit hunts, which there's nothing wrong with by no means. Just when you get 14 states together and you pulling the best of the best, from what I've seen, man, it's a real eye-opener experience to see how different people's dogs run and kind of interact.
Can you imagine at this time, man, at Pamplico, and I'll talk about Pamplico because that's where I went the most, 1,000 acres, the Masters, all the, at that time, that was, at any hunt, the best group of dogs I've ever seen put together.
Yeah.
just hounds. And you think back then too, man, there was a 500 dog hunt at Pepco it wasn't small,
Normal.
but it was pretty
Normal.
average.
Right.
It was pretty average, you know. And so these dogs are doing it when there was no pen limits like there is now. So there's just too many pieces of the equation.
It's too many variables to it. I think kind of I think in certain aspects they're better in each category. I definitely agree with you as far as the athletic ability of them. And I wasn't around in those days. There were a lot of good-looking dogs, but man, there's some of them now that look like freaks.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody needs to be shy about the fact that these dogs back then, though, they could. I watched a lot of them that could really go. And I know there's some now that you probably can't read the number when they cross road looking at them.
Some of them can fly.
But there's some dogs back then, man. Oh man, they could pick them up, put them down, and run where they went. Just run them where they went, all over the pen. Took them around 1,000 acres like it wasn't nothing but a playtime.
I think that's the biggest difference is the situations that we put them in. And one thing that them not being able to run as much, it was a lot harder to catch dogs then. How much more ground time did they get of being able to run something versus now? And I'm a victim of it. When I get ready to go, I'm ready to go. I beat that thing and I go home. But I got to go to work. Well, back then it was kind of, it wasn't quite that easy.
Yeah, it wasn't, and that's why even now I leave my pups out on the yard until they get in trouble. I listened to a podcast the other day on odor intelligence, and it was pretty much about how scent conditions work, which I think is another lost art as of these days.
Absolutely.
Anyway, they and talk about a dog's brain and their ability to process all that information. And that ain't nothing just like what you said, time. This hours on the ground. He's not gonna learn anything that much enough. The more you can leave him somewhere big enough, he can learn. If he is following a rabbit or a lizard across the ground,
Absolutely.
all that stuff stacks up, man. All that stuff stacks up. You got to learn to use that mate.
I can remember when I was probably 15 or 16. My cousin had a dog off of Mighty Man. I remember watching this dog in the yard. I really hate to say he would trail crickets, because that sounds really stupid, but you could watch him play in the yard, man. It was like he was 100% messing with the crickets. But, just to see what we call prey drive, that was a very good eye-opener for me that I can always go back to, especially watching young puppies, their prey drive. And I think that really...
What he is following, he's learning. He was learning. And that's why I think, like, leaving my pups out, and I got a big, acre puppy pen is grown up. And when they do get in trouble, they go up to the shop or the highway or anything like that. I put them in and just grown up, and they'll be running rabbits in there sometimes.
That's right.
Nothing but practice, man. They got connected dots in their brain, from their brain to their nose, and that takes hours.
I will say, I built this rabbit pen here in the backyard, and that was probably by far the best thing I've done. Because when we originally what I did was just turn the rabbits loose, and these are tame Tennessee redbacks, they ain't wild rabbits, but I would just turn them loose in the yard, and then every afternoon we'd go plundering through the neighbors' flower beds and crap with them, messing with rabbits. But now that I got them in a pen, and I leave them in that rabbit pen, it's like every day when you come home from work, them sons back there running. And they got so much more accomplished because of it. From 10 weeks old to almost 5 months old, they stayed in that rabbit pen, and man, them sons would rock. And the rabbits got in shape too. Now that was a big difference. Them things would run probably 10 or 15 minutes before they, went back to their hole. But the next question, I'm it's what traits do you refuse to compromise on as far as breeding? I'm gonna hold that a little bit, and we'll definitely get into in depth of that breeding wise. But to kind of jump off into the broke dogs, let's talk about that a little bit. This is something that's not very very commonly talked about at all, really. And what is the difference? Because a lot of people don't even understand how hard it is with the broke dogs. Not only because of making the dog, but the situations that were put in, the amount of game you got to find. How, in your opinion, how would you describe how much harder it is? And not saying that I'm in an arrogant way that broke dogs are better, which I probably go to sleep and not believing that. But how would you kind of describe the difference in that versus the pen dogs?
Oh man, it's the hardest thing I've ever done with a hound. I've hog hunted, my brother hog hunted, a good while. I've hog hunted, I've coon hunted. I have not bear hunted. That's the only other thing I haven't done. I've been rabbit hunting, of course, still run a few deer dogs. But it's the hardest thing I've ever done with a hound. And just for the mere fact there's not all that much game. It's if you get in game sometime, it can get good quick. But to go out there and break them off the most common, easily run species, the whitetail, and get them on game that ain't always there is not a really easy task.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick pause real quick in the episode. I want to talk about our partners over at Elite Nutrition. Guys, our hounds, they are athletes. They give us their all each and every time we cast them, whether it be at field trials, in the deer woods, no matter what the situation is. They give us their all. Elite Nutrition offers all natural products to give your dogs the natural benefits that they truly deserve. From the Canine Remove, an all-natural wormer, to the Electro Boost. It's a paste that's an electrolyte replenishment and for body fluid balance and blood flow improvement. They also have products like Active Dog Powder for recovery and joint and muscle support, Essential Dog Powder for daily vitamins and minerals, probiotics and prebiotics and enzymes, the Canine Lactate Powder for nursing dogs to help with milk supply, and there's so many more products, guys. Check them out at CajunLights.com. Click on the Elite Nutrition section to explore all the different options that they have. When you go to check out at CajunLight.com only, use the code HTElite10. That's HT Hounds Tails Elite 10, the number 10 at the end, to receive 10% off your Elite Nutrition products. Again, that's HT Elite 10 to get 10% off your Elite Nutrition products via CajunLights.com. Been using their products now for a couple years now, guys. Love every single one of them. And we'll also be taking some step forwards and promoting their each product during episodes with spotlight sections every other episode, maybe every other episode, something like that. So we're definitely looking forward to that, and thank the Elite Nutrition for coming back on, guys. All right, let's get back to the episode.
You can follow in with somebody who's been doing it a long time, got a bunch of broke dogs or something like that, and that'll help you out a lot. Being able to go in them and get your young dogs in experience. But I pretty much started mine, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago now, I believe. Maybe a little longer than that. From scratch, except for one jip Lucas Holt gave me, she was broke, and the old Sandy jip Rhino gave me.
Yep, I remember her.
If it wasn't for them two, I wouldn't have made it. Old Sandy was hard-headed. She would go hunting, and she would get after game. But she was all I had, and I had to make all the rest of them, and that took years, man. It was a lot of empty days and nights of going hunting, not getting after game, getting frustrated. Had to haul them to the pen. We used to get the run out of them.
Yeah, knocked off of them.
and finally, in the last few years, I'd say the last 2 or 3 years especially, but 4 or 5, not many times I go, I'm not going to get after a piece of game. Be it coyote, be it fox, be it cat. And a lot of people don't run all 3. I see why. But I work a lot, farming down here, so I don't get to leave a lot. So I'm going to run what's here.
That's right.
I'm gonna run what's here. I'm gonna try to catch
That's
this
right.
one way or another. Be a coyote, or if there's a cat there, oh man, that's the best race there is.
By all means.
We're gonna have some running.
That's right. And you kind of got to, man, because if you, I agree with you. If somebody doesn't have a job where it requires them to work 4 or 5 days a week, they can be a little bit more picky. But with us, especially the amount of coyotes that's around, you get so frustrated with it, if you ain't got, even in the summertime, if you ain't got no rain, and it's just hard to smell, you can go get after them coyotes and run them any time of the year. I mean, there's very few days that you can't have at least a pretty decent coyote race. There's a lot of days that I really don't care what dog you got. If the smelling ain't allowing it, you really not gonna have a fox race. You can follow him all day long,
Yeah, you could.
but you're not gonna be able to get up there and run him in his rump. And I think a big difference that people don't really understand is, you know, and I know you don't hunt a lot of dogs, but it don't matter if you hunting 5 dogs or 100 dogs. The amount of mistakes that you can't make
Oh,
is so slim.
one and it's over most of the time if it's big.
I mean, and you got to have easily around 5 to 10 dogs. If you can, consistently catch game with 10 dogs, man, I think you're doing something that 99% of the world can't do. And that's extremely hard. And I know a lot of people are gonna think that's kind of crazy, but there's a huge difference in running something in a pen versus running a wild gray fox or cat. It is tremendously different in that aspect.
Absolutely.
It's a lot harder.
Absolutely. We run 10 to 12 dogs about all the time. My buddy Ken Creel hunts with me. He's pretty much the only one that's me and him hunt together usually. um, and he carries like 5. I usually haul about 6 and I'll rotate 2 pups in. So we sitting around 10 to 12 dogs most of the time. And, it's made me connect the dots on what type of dog I really want because it takes some pretty good ones to catch your own kites with
You
just a
go through.
handful. With just a handful, but a cat, I can catch him a little easier most of the time, as long as he, don't do nothing. He don't tree. I don't have anything in the tree. And a fox, it's got, like you say, it's got to be pretty good. You can peck on him for a long time, but if you really want to get up and run on him, it's got to be a pretty good thing.
And you got to have a good dog. Ain't no doubt. You at least got to have 3 or 4. What we call a backbone. And this is not a very common denominator with today's dogs, but you got to have 3 or 4 that ain't in the front that is running it. Not necessarily every step that he makes, but that doesn't allow the fox to get further away. You constantly got to get closer, and I've learned through a lot of frustrating days. Anytime, and you can have a really, really nice hound, but if he hurts the rest of them, it is extremely going to hurt you running gray fox.
One bark on a cat race, one excited bark on a cat race in the wrong direction, especially with the amount of dogs I run.
Right,
If we're running a cat
absolutely.
with 10 head, and we got a young dog that falls in where that cat ain't covered up on the wrong end and pulls him the wrong way, brother.
And he's gone.
I'll be over.
He's
I'll
gone.
be over.
And we talk about the cats all the time. They run really tight, but I've noticed a lot of them, especially these big grown cats. I mean, them sows, they'll check out on you too. But as long as you after him, he's gonna stay right there. But I've noticed a lot this winter. Them big old tomcats. You make a mistake on them son of a guns, and you about have to start all the way over, because they will check out. They will not stay right there. Now, if you can get under him and keep him there, he ain't going nowhere.
It happened to us this summer. We got after a coyote and a cat in the same cornfield. Dogs split up, about 3 or 4 kept after the cat right there in the corn, and the coyote left out. And they got kind of behind him, so we snatched him up because we knew the other ones were sure running in the cornfield. We hadn't seen this cat yet. And so we piled back to him. The dogs got hot. It got to be about 9 o'clock in the morning. It was in the 90s.
Smoking.
The dog was about a monkey. And he come right up there to me and turned back. But one young dog is like I talked about. I think high about 3 times or going left, and they never said another word on it. Well, these dogs come out to me staggering, they're kind of hot. So I told Ken, Ken, I'm gonna stick these dogs in the truck to get them some water. I'm gonna carry them a few miles down the highway, cool them off in that box, and I'm gonna see if I can get back after this cat. Well, he didn't believe me. But, so I took Jackie. You hunted with Jackie today.
Yep.
I took Jackie and little Jip back all three and one more and put them on the ground. And I assumed where the dogs had worked, this is about a 80, 100 acre cornfield. The way the dogs had worked, the cat had to get out the other way, you know. So I took them out and rode them on down to across a big ditch that splits the field. And by that time, Three and Jackie left off the right side of that road. And they didn't say a word, you know, they don't bark on trail, really. And they went over there to the back of a little hedgerow, to the back of that field in a little thicket, and they fell back to running. And I dumped the rest into him. About 10 minutes later, he was caught. But just like that, she's like you're talking about, we had to pretty much start over just because that one.
Start all the way.
It was hot, they were tired, got one mistake, and bam.
And if you ain't hunting, younger dogs, especially in that situation, what you're talking about. I mean, if you start hunting 7, 8, 9-year-old dogs, which is not uncommon for a lot of people, you really ain't got the opportunity to go back because they about monkeyed out anyway. I mean, you've got to, and that's another thing, having a 2 or 3-year-old dog that's able to withstand that and got enough sense to go back and get after that cat. That's very hard. It is one of the hardest things. It is by far the hardest thing I've ever done, and it has taught me so much about a complete dog that I don't think gets talked about a lot. You talk about a dog that has got enough sense to trail something, especially like the cats, man. You trail a cat 4 or 5 hours old, and then got enough sense to turn around and run him in a thicket back and forth for 15 or 20 minutes, where he's went over his same path 15, 20, 30 times, and they've got enough sense to distinguish the right way versus the wrong way. Because it's pretty common. A cold-nosed dog will hurt you a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It is very impressive to me when I can see a dog that's got enough sense to trail, and then turn around and turn that nose off, and run him, up there in his rump where he needs to be. Especially, man, that thing's just crossed over his same path 15 times and ain't went nowhere. And I'm like, man, and some just can't distinguish it. Some just cannot understand, that style.
They'll bark on every end of it.
Yeah, they don't understand it.
Yeah, they used to call it fox sense. I refer to it kind of as track sense these days, because we're running everything, I reckon. But dogs, got enough brains and common sense to dictate when and where and why.
Absolutely.
If that makes any sense.
That's I tell people all the time that when it's good, there's nothing in the world like it. There's no more rewarding feeling as far as messing with dogs. But when it is bad, it'll really make you question your life decisions. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, you got to be a touch crazy, I think, to do it. That's what I thought it was a long time. When I was first starting, you wasn't that being a touch crazy. And I got ruined the first time. I went with Lucas and Rhino and them over there next y'all's house somewhere, and we run them 2 gray fox for 2 hours. We ended up putting one in the hole and catching the other, and I told them boys we were doing. I said, well, I figured out what I'm doing for the rest of my life. I was ruined.
It'll change you too, man. There is nothing like a gray fox race. I love deer hunting. I grew up coon hunting. There's not many things that I have not done with dogs, but there is nothing comparable to a gray fox race with dogs that know how to complement each other. There's nothing more frustrating with dogs that don't know how to complement each other. But that can be, especially when you go and hunting with different people, and everybody's got a little bit of different style of dog. You talked about a while ago how yours didn't. That was kind of one of my talking points: open mouth trail dogs versus tighter mouth trail dogs. Let's dive into that rabbit hole. What made you go? Because I'm sure, in your earlier days, you had open mouth trail dogs, especially deer hunting. What made you make that transition?
This is going to sound maybe bad, maybe the wrong thing to say. I'm not sure. There's an awful lot of open mouth trail dogs that waste a lot of time. That waller on the track, that bark both ways. I've seen some clean ones. I've owned one of the best I ever owned. I wasn't but about, I don't know, 19 or 20 deer dog. Solid white Jip from Kenneth Woods in Virginia, off of Woods' little buddy. And she had a long white tail, and you could take her and stick her in a buck trap. And if she ever wagged that tail from side to side, you can put
He
it
was
on the
jumping.
wall if he's good enough. He was jumped, bro. And she was just perfectly pure and clean trail dog. She even changed her mouth as she progressed through the track. She had a locate almost when she jumped like a coon dog. She'd get high. She was never a high mouth dog. She'd scream a couple times and then turn that thing back into a rolling chomp, man, and just running. And she's forever my yardstick on trail dogs. But a lot of the trail dogs I've messed with since then or seen,
Or
there's one
barking
other
dog.
dogs involved, but it just they waste a lot of time. They waller back and forth on track. They're barking both directions. I had a lot better luck. And not saying there ain't really great trail dogs like her out there. I know there are. I have a lot better luck with tight mouth dogs that are strictly business. They'll go to where he's at. Is what I want you to do. And just because they're not barking, don't mean they're not following that piece of game. and and the way I hunt too, I'm hunting a lot of farms around the house and also our farms, some other places that we get to hunt. And I don't really want to go trail that coyote off 3 miles into a club or something. I want to hunt that farm. I want to range 300-400 yards, something like that, 200, whatever they feel like they cut. If it's a good smelling day, you know how to go a little bit further. And if he's there, I want to jump. If he
That's
ain't,
right.
let's get in the truck. Let's go to the next place. Let's find a piece of game. And
That's right.
And Jackie, and like I say, you've hunted with Jackie before, and she was the first dog I ever broke. Wonderful hound, still one of our better hounds. Gets the job done, still a lot. She taught me that, man. I had a few dogs that were a little older and what you consider a little more trail dogs, and I was trying to run a coyote one day, and those older dogs were kind of strung along the track, trailing and whatnot. Almost track, just kind of slow. And I look at my box, and Jackie's 1,000 yards ahead of me. Well, I get out the truck on a dirt road over here by our cow pasture and the house, and I could hear every breath. And and they were following her same track now. They were trailing the same piece of game, and she was 1,000 yards ahead, running every breath. I said, well, that's a lesson learner right there. And every dog's like that, or every dog can do that. But
Right.
I want a dog that is all about business, man. Go to where he's at. Don't waste no time. Get to where he is. Let's get together. Let's get him going.
Absolutely. There's dog. I think I've had. This is such a very how to put this. It's a very controversial topic in the outside world. There's a lot of people that believe in dogs should bark trailing, and I'm a firm believer that you should have the style of dogs that you want. If it excites you to have an open mouth trail dog, then by all means do not change. But don't be so close minded either that there's not I'm not gonna say a better way, because I think both are very crucial.
You're looking for dog hunting apparel to rock to your next event? Visit dogtight.com and check out the lines of shirts, hoodies, and hats just like this one up here on my head that I'm wearing right now. With looks that fit our style, comfort that is unmatched, and supporting another Houndsman as well, get your Dog Tight swag today and use the discount code Houndstales15. That's HOUNDSTALES and the number 15 at the end to get 15% off your order. Now, let's finish up this episode, guys. I promise, right here at the end of it. Thanks, y'all, for holding on tight with me.
I think where it gets confused is people call trail dogs the ones that are just going out there and barking and not producing game. That is not. You can't judge a trail dog on how much he opens on track. You judge a trail dog by, one, how much game he produces, and two, how fastly he gets it done.
And
You know,
two,
there are dogs that can get it done a lot faster.
yeah, absolutely, man. And two, man, there's a lot of people that hunt cats a lot more than me and stuff like that, and they got those mouth trail dogs. When they gonna jump, they got way better cat hounds than I'll ever dream about. So there's a time and place for all of it, and it
Absolutely.
does help on certain days to get other dogs involved. Other dogs that aren't quite as willing to go out on a colder trail or whatever. When you get a dog out there that will bark a few times, you get them in there, you get them milling around. You want a
Interesting.
piece of game junk. And there's a time and place and benefits to all of it, but a tight mouth dog that'll go hunting, um, and go to where he's at is kind of the style hound I love, and I hunt.
Absolutely. I think that's, and I lean more on that kind of, basis too. I, I do think there is, because we definitely I got some that bark a little too much on track. But, that is, as a hunter, you got to understand which one benefits you, and when to put certain ones on the ground, when not to put certain ones on the ground. But I mean, like you said, a bad smelling day. These dogs are used to that. A lot of them are smarter than we are, and they know that the smelling ain't no good, and they don't want to go hunting. Well, you get a little frustrated with them, but I've seen in those situations where a little bit more of an open mouth trail dog, like you said, get some of them ones, especially the younger ones, more kind of excited. And if you can get after him, luckily, even on bad smelling days, you kind of get after him. You might get. I've seen where that prevailed. A lot better. And I think on bad smelling days they help more than not. But even if you're running a fox, it don't matter how good. If the smelling's bad, you're not gonna run him no way. I mean, a cat and a couch is a little different, but if the smelling's bad, you just you pee it in the wind.
Yeah, and my buddy Ken that hunts with me, he's got a couple that'll bark a little more on trail. Um, that's helped us jump some game this past year. Give a young dog come along that she's done really well, and like I say, there's a time and a place for it, man. There's days when it'll help you, there's days when it'll hurt you, and
Well,
you
I
just
think
figure out where you want to
well, I think dogs definitely learn each other too. Like they understand. Like I've noticed dogs that there's some people that they, in my opinion, bark entirely way too much, but they're still successful with how they get after game. But it's that those dogs, in my opinion, those dogs have learned when to go to them ones that's just blowing holes in the ground and when to start honoring them. They know the difference. You can watch a lot of them just because the dog barks behind them. The ones that I think get after most of their game aren't always going back and checking, where they're barking at. They're kind of moving around. And the first time I seen that, I was mind blown. We had a little white dog we called Trophy, and to me, he opened about the perfect amount. It wasn't too much, but it was enough to get dogs interested. But he was never going to bark in the same place twice. And you could watch him. He would hit here, and it was in the early summertime. The beans wasn't up. You still see the dogs. He would hit right here, man. One of them two little gyps would come out in front of him and hit it up there, and he would swing out in front of them and hit it up there. And that to me, probably that's particular instance taught me a lot. That one, I really wouldn't have been able to see on the Garmin. I would have just thought that one, it was either lagging or you can't really see stuff like that on the Garmin. Or maybe you can, but I can't really distinguish that. But that taught me a lot. Them dogs had learned each other. They knew exactly, what each one was doing.
I had a couple with a deer problem a while back, and I've watched the motor dogs wholeheartedly ignore them every time they bark. Even if they were right, they wholeheartedly ignore them. And when you hunt these dogs together like that, a lot of people won't think the hound's smart enough for that, but they know each other's mouths.
100%. They 100%.
First time I ever saw it and they figured out what was going on, I was kind of a little bit dumbfounded. And same way with honoring the right dogs. You got a dog to pull around a little bit and hit that thing up there and get excited and pull that mouth out a little bit. You can tighten up some slack in the track pretty quick. But they'll honor them both ways or ignore them.
And when I'm glad you brought up the mouth thing. That one thing that I think a lot of people in this day and time don't really understand is dogs that the swinging around versus cutting. Dogs, we talk about dogs working together. It is okay for dogs to hit it out in front of the rest of them, but it is not okay for one to hit it out in front of them 100 yards and sound like a bird chirping. I think that is one of the biggest things that hurt you as a whole. Now, I mean, the dog that does it looks good, but that is one of the biggest things. There is very few. I've seen very well. Let me rephrase that. I've seen about 2 in my life that is capable of doing that and helping you. Most of them really just hurt you. But there is some. A dog can't help his mouth, but if he's able to hold it, it's not going to hurt you. But a lot of times these dogs swing around. They can't hold it long enough for the rest of them. One, figure out what the heck's going on, and 2, to pull up to them. Well, now I've just pushed this fox a little bit further away, and now the one that pushed him can't hold him up. Well, that just kind of shoots you in the foot to begin with.
And I'm one thing I've got to correct, and I've talked to Lucas about this a little bit, but I've concentrated on the other aspects of my hounds before mouth, and I won't say it's cost me because mine work together really good working with that small amount of hounds, but that's something I'm trying to actively work on a little bit better too. Is the mouth in my hounds. I don't have a minor. I got a bunch of chop mouth dogs, some high chop mouth dogs. A few pulling mouth dogs, but not enough. Not like y'all boys. Y'all boys got train horns on all them things. a little different race sounds when y'all having more than when I'm having more.
Well, I've heard Rhino say it a bunch. You ain't gonna see a big mouth dog up front, and there's a lot of truth to that.
Amen.
That is one thing that is hard to, and that's what and I think you're trying to accomplish too. And I kind of started at it from a different aspect. I worry about mouth first, and then running something, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard to put that together. You're going. It's like when you do, you're lacking on one of the other ends.
Yeah, and that's why
Very hard.
I didn't worry. The mouth was like the last thing I worried about because the other attributes are so hard to put together. The kind of hound I want to put together. That if I had to worry about mouth too, it narrowed my hounds down to what I could breed to or what I wanted to keep or whatever.
Oh, it does.
It's almost nothing.
It does.
And what you said, Ryan said, I've always thought that. I've never really put any logic behind it. But,
There's a lot of truth to it.
But
for several reasons too.
Yeah, them steady every breath hounds that don't miss, man. Them's my kind.
It's hard to put that together. I've talked about Deacon a little bit, not as much as Trainman. Trainman was not a big mouth dog. He was more your style dog where he could just get up in his rump and run him. He did not have no astronomical mouth. But to me, Deacon was one of those ones that he's beat the odds. And when I say beat the odds, everybody hated him as a puppy, me included. I begged Eddie to get rid of him. I mean, begged him. Like, he would bark 100 yards behind dogs. I mean, just, it was god-awful. But when he barked, it sounded like something was just tearing the world apart. And that's hard. When you care about mouths, it's hard to kind of sacrifice that mouth. But he beat the odds. He's not a very well put together dog. He's not very fast. But after about a year old, he started to adapt and put it all together where, before he would probably hurt you, which I don't really hunt mine on the outside hard, till they're about a year old, just how it falls out with us breeding dogs in the spring. But I could only imagine trying to start him on the outside in the old days, what them people would have thought. Just before he parked mine. I mean, he's very lucky to be at the house. If anybody else would have owned him, he probably would have never made it, past a year old. By no means. But by the grace of God, Daddy had enough sense to kind of say, just give it some time, be a little bit patient with him. Most dogs has got enough sense to kind of figure it out. And I don't really agree with that. I don't think most dogs do have enough sense to figure it out. But he was one of the ones that did. He has defied the odds of a big mouth dog running up front. And will it help me breed to him? I do not know. I'm very anxious to find out. But he is one of the very few dogs that I've seen being able to, defy the odds of a big mouth dog running up front.
What I like is a dog that, and I got several of them now, that when they do catch the front and that thing gets exciting, they got a real good pull to their mouth. Just stretch it right on out and makes you excited, makes dogs excited. They get to them and
Absolutely.
then it turns into a chop. And I got several that will do that, and that to me is good enough for me. If they'll pull that thing out when they get on the front one time, and they getting close, and that thing smells good, and they'll get them dogs excited and get them pulled up, and that's as good as I like.
All right, guys, another quick break real quick. The Hounds Tales podcast is proud to partner again with Low 10 Outfitters. If your kennel is looking for new apparel to rock to the next field trial, look no further than Low 10 Outfitters. They offer shirts, hats, hoodies, coats, and other accessories with custom logos for your kennel or your hound on it to go with it. With top quality merchandise and long-lasting quality, you can't go wrong with Low 10 Outfitters. And very soon, actually right now, we are offering Hounds Tales Podcast apparel on their website at low10outfitters.com. So please go by and check it out. There's a whole section in there under in one of the tabs as for the Hounds Tales Podcast. Get shirts, hats. We're talking about maybe adding some other stuff, but need to see if we can get some movement on the shirts and hats to start. But also, if you're looking for trophies for your next field trial, be sure to check Low 10 Outfitters out as well. So these guys have been great to deal with. Mr. Gonzalez and them, they do a great job, fast turnaround, top quality equipment, and you just can't ask for better, guys. I want to thank them again for coming on board with the Hounds Tales podcast, and I won't hold you all up anymore again. Let's get y'all back to your episode, guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap us up for this episode of the Houndsmen for Christ. Hope y'all have enjoyed it so far. Y'all check back in tomorrow. That is the plan for right now, is to have this thing out tomorrow. It might be Friday, but the plan as of right now is to have it out for tomorrow. We're going to finish it up. That way we don't keep y'all on the edge too much on finishing it out. It's a lot of great talking points in here, and I hope y'all have enjoyed the conversation, guys. So, all right, don't let me hold y'all, guys. Thank y'all so much for listening, guys, and like always, happy hunting.